So to begin with, why don't we start with some introductions? And Jes, how about you go first?
I get to go first. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to see all of you virtually. I currently serve as the admission counselor for all undergraduate international students. So I got this opportunity a couple months ago, and I'm so excited to be able to welcome you guys to campus.
Andrew?
Okay, yeah, well, welcome everyone, and we very much hope to welcome you in person to campus in just only like 3 months from now. It's pretty hard to believe, but we're very excited to hopefully have as many or all of you here on campus as possible. I work in the international programs office, so I don't do the admission. So Ryan Segally and his team, and then Jes, they actually give you the admission letter. But once you get that, then I will make your I-20. And once you come to Valpo, I work in the international services office, international student services. So I help you with all kinds of things from, a lot of the immigration, I-20 details to a lot of the cultural things. I mean, all three of us will be helping you with the cultural side, but my office puts on a lot of cultural programs, and we're here for you throughout your time at Valpo.
Yeah, Jes in my office, we get to have the fun of just talking with you guys about, studies and all those great things. And we pile all the immigration work on Andrew. So that's what we do with our office. But anyway, they're all great people over there. I'm Ryan Segally. I'm the Director of Graduate Enrollment Operations. So I cover a whole lot of stuff on the graduate side, but I'm pretty involved with international. And we have a lot of international students at the grad level at Valpo and at the undergrad level too. So thank you all for joining us. We're very happy for you all to be here. I hope there's a lot of useful information in here. Somebody's already asked a question. Is this specific to grad? No, it's not. We're covering a lot of topics that are going to be useful to both undergraduate international students and graduate international students. Because you all have a kind of shared journey as you travel abroad to do your studies. So what's on our agenda for today? We're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19, the latest over here. It's still a topic across the world, and there's still some things that you guys keep in mind policy-wise. We'll talk a little bit about why to choose Valpo. Some of you probably have I-20s to multiple universities. You got a lot of things going on. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about Valpo itself and the university and what we have to offer. And I think you'll find a lot of great stuff on that front. Then the meat of the presentation is going to be talking about the visa interview process. So a lot of you will be applying for student visas, and it can be a little daunting, a little scary, a little challenging. So we'll cover a lot of useful information on that front. But then when you guys get your visas, what happens next? Well, arrival. So we'll talk about arrival details. We'll talk about housing, and we have an exciting new option for on-campus housing for international graduate students. So normally graduate students are living off campus, but we're extending an option for all graduate students this fall to help alleviate housing burdens, right? So it's a very attractive option. We'll talk a little bit more about that close to the end. And then we'll cover some details about orientation and leave time for questions. And I'm sure a lot of you guys got lots of questions, so we're going to try to rush through this as reasonably as possible so we can talk about, give you guys some room to talk and see what you guys are all about. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. And Andrew and Jes, if you have any details you want to provide as well, go ahead. I just wanted to, provide a general basic update that we still have vaccination requirements in place, but COVID has very much eased up around here. It's still a thing. We still see it. There's quarantine housing on campus for students who are affected and have to go live on campus and be somewhere where they can quarantine. But we are now mask optional. So you don't see people wearing masks around Valpo unless they choose to, in which case, we totally respect that if any individual wants to wear a mask for their own protection, protection of others. And of course, we encourage that for any students who feel sick, who might be displaying COVID symptoms. But then, there's more policies involved with that. So I highly recommend you check out our website, valpo.edu/looking forward. And that covers a lot of useful information about what the current policies are. And you get some info on what are the numbers on campus. And they've been incredibly low on our campus, actually, thanks in part to the vaccination requirements and just our constant vigilance in monitoring the situation. So let's talk a little bit about why Valparaiso University. And there's going to be a couple different things that we cover overall. Big thing overall is location, location, location. Excellent coverage here at Valparaiso University. You're smack dab almost in the middle of the United States, right? In an area we call the Midwest. You're situated about an hour's drive from Chicago, the third largest city in the United States, but you also get a nice Midwestern experience. So you have the best of both worlds. It's kind of a nice cultural experience of Midwestern America, the traditional American experience, but you don't have to drive very far to find this massive urban environment and all the culture and experiences that that has to offer. We'll go in a little bit of depth of detail about that. But what else do we provide? Professional preparation. So we assist our students with finding professions, right? We're joining students to professions. We're giving them an excellent educational experience that you can only get from a private four-year university like us. We're also highly affordable, and we offer a lot of value for what you pay to study at Valparaiso University. It's a massive, beautiful campus. Right here in the background of this slide actually is a nice picture of our campus at night with some of the lights of Valparaiso a little further on in the distance there. We have a lot of on-campus resources, and Andrew can talk a little bit about that too as far as Office of International Programs go. We'll cover that. But the Valpo experience is the big sale for us. It's really what a lot of our students come to get, and that is this nice, calm, interesting, enjoyable campus experience with individualized attention. So unlike a lot of larger universities with masses of students, you're not going to be sitting in lecture halls. You're going to be in very small, tightly knit classrooms for the most part in your studies here. You're going to learn a lot from your instructors directly. You won't be taught by teaching assistants or student aides. You'll be taught by professors. Now, depending upon your program, depending upon whether you're undergrad or grad, there might be some differences here and there. But overall, what we consider at Valpo to be our greatest strength is this high-touch experience. So there's a whole wealth of people here to support you from beginning to end and beyond. So you start your studies at Valpo, you continue on, you graduate. It doesn't end there. You're always a part of Valpo. You're always one of our alums. We love to hear from our alums. We run events for them. Even those abroad, we keep in touch with. Sometimes they come back and visit campus. Occasionally, we get the chance and we're lucky enough to visit them too. But it's a little harder for us to do that with all of our international alums across the world. So what else do we have to offer? Diversity on campus. International students are a large source of our diversity on campus, but you also have a broad spectrum of people from all different walks of life in America as well. And then our services, career services, other things that can help you prepare for the professional world once you get out of school, right? And then the Valparaiso community. Community of Valpo, this is a small but bustling town, and it is growing. And a lot of exciting things are happening in Valparaiso, the city as well. So let's talk a little bit about location here. And Jes and Andrew, if you want to chat about your feelings about the location too, feel free to chime in here because there's a lot to talk about here. But Chicago is what you see here in the background, a lot of different cross sections of the experience, whether you're looking at Lake Michigan, which is one of the Great Lakes, the 5 Great Lakes in North America. And a lot of people liken it to being next to an ocean. It's actually that large, right? A major inland sea or ocean. That's why we call them the Great Lakes. And so in Chicago, you have the lakefronts. In Indiana, you have the Dunes National State Park. There's all these other cultural experiences in Chicago besides athletic events like Soldier Field. You have a lot of football, baseball in Chicago. You also have theater. You have the symphony. You have the opera. So it's a really, really diverse and cultural environment in Chicago. And of course, a whole host of wonderful restaurants in Chicago, beautiful architecture, just the gamut of the American experience, all captured in a single city. What do you guys think about it, Jess, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I, uh, uh, I, I really feel like Valpo is a very uh, uh, unique place. Uh, Many universities, many very famous universities in the U.S. don't have the unique mix of opportunities with the location that Valpo does. So you have universities like the University of Chicago. That's a very famous university, great place. I went by the University of Chicago maybe a few months ago, and uh, it's in the middle of the city. So the actual campus of that school is very beautiful. It's very nice, but right around it is all these, kind of old, city buildings, and it's really, I'm sorry, people from the University of Chicago probably wouldn't agree with me, but it's kind of right in the middle of the city. It's not in more of a nature setting. But then you also have some other universities. I don't know. I think one I'm thinking of is like University of Kansas, or many famous universities in the U.S. are way out in the middle of nowhere. Like they're in this little tiny town way outside of any big city, and it probably would take several hours to drive to get to a big, international city. So Valpo, I really believe is a very special location because you're only about an hour from whatever you want to go to. I mean, I love international food. I don't think I could live in a place that didn't have Japanese, Middle Eastern, Indian, all kinds of international food. And yet you only have to go about 5 minutes outside of Valpo town, and you're in the cornfields, and you're in the beautiful scenery, very peaceful, safe environment. So yeah, I really think Valpo is a special location. And also the things that you have here in Valpo are very good as well. The shopping, you have all your major stores. You don't have to go to Chicago for all your major shopping and that kind of thing. So it's a neat place.
Yeah, the city of Valpo is about 33,000 residents. So we are considered a smaller town, but like Ryan and Andrew have mentioned, we have the ability for our students to experience the third largest city in the United States while also being in the smaller community. We're also about 20 minutes from one of the United States. I think it's the 57th national park, if I remember. So if you enjoy being outdoors, seeing the lake, going hiking with friends, that is just up the road for our students to experience, and one of the nation's national parks. So
Yeah, I'm just putting a couple links in the chat there. One of them is a super long link, but it's to Google Maps, and that link is to the Indiana Dunes location on Google Maps. So take a look at that. I mean, I was just on the east coast of the US on the beach in Charleston, South Carolina, and I said, well, I'm in Indiana. I have a beach to Lake Michigan right close to me. I don't have to go to the East Coast. And really, it is an incredibly beautiful location. Click on that long link there, and you'll see the pictures. And then one more link right before that. It's to a page on our website where we have some stories, or kind of some profiles of some international alumni. So I think I maybe have about 15 different countries up there, about 30 or 40 profiles of international students that have come to Valpo over the past, well, I have some pretty old ones on there too, but over the past 20 years or so. And just, they really look back at their time as a very special time at Valpo. So that's cool to look at.
Yeah, somebody asked about the weather here. You get to experience all four seasons at Valpo, right? So yes, it is cold in the winters. It's also hot in the summers, right? But we are in kind of a location where we do not ever experience very severe weather events, very rarely. I mean, occasionally we have a strong thunderstorm here. We have a nice blizzard in the winter. but it's not like living on the coast where you might experience, hurricanes. It's not like living in Tornado Alley in the south, nor living in California where you might have earthquakes, right? So actually, as far as weather goes, it's pleasant and it's a nice cross section of weather experiences throughout the year. Always something to look forward to. So on to why Valpo as far as our cultural exchange. We have a lot of things here listed. The Office of International Programs. Andrew, I don't know if you want to talk in depth about any of these, but I think there's a lot of opportunities for international students to connect with each other on campus and also demonstrate their culture.
Yeah, so the Office of International Programs, we call it OIP. You'll see that around. So if you see those letters, that's what it is, Office of International Programs. So we really try to celebrate the cultures of all the international students that we have here on campus. Everyone who works in the international office, my supervisor, Janice Lynn, she's the director. And then we also have Daniela. She works with us as well. So, and then various people who we partner with, we all really love the international culture. We feel like international students at Valpo bring so much to the university. We can learn so much from international students, and we feel that you can learn from your time here at Valpo as well. And so we just want to celebrate the different cultures that we have here. So you'll see different student associations. Some of this depends on what students we have at the particular time. We had more Chinese students in the past, not quite as many now, but we have more African students from many countries in Africa now, and then we have a lot of Muslim students as well. So really, whatever celebration is going on, we want to celebrate it, whether it's Eid, the end of Ramadan, or whether it's Diwali, or the Moon Festival from China, or whatever's going on. And we're really thankful we can do these now. For about a year or 2 years, it was very difficult to do that with COVID, but that made us more thankful to be able to do that. And we did a lot of things last year. We hope to increase that more. But yeah, just kind of a home away from home. There's a lot of other things we offer as well, kind of a friendship family connection with local families, not Valpo professors, but just people in the town. We've done this for many years, and this is really a special way you can get connected with local people. Lots of things like that.
So Valpo, there's a lot of marks of quality at Valpo, right? So we're regularly ranked in all the different college rankings, US News and World Report, Princeton Reviews, Forbes, America's Top Colleges. I get tired of updating these because they tend to be the same every year. We're always ranked in the best of this or that ranking, right? I think it is important to a lot of students to know that quality does matter to us. The reason why we're allowed to be ranked on these is because we submit certain data points to these aggregators, right? And then they look at them and they compare, and then they provide badges to us in return. The badges themselves don't mean anything. What means a lot is that we care about the quality of education for our students, right? So we want to make sure our students receive a quality education, that they receive the value for what they spend to study at Valpo. As international students, you're footing a significant bill, right? We understand that. So that's why we do take great pains to make sure that you have a wonderful educational experience, that you have a great university to attend, lovely campus, lovely buildings, and that you're going to go on to succeed once you get out of here, right? And you can then look back on us positively. So we're really glad to see that, right? Now, so a lot of you might be in different stages of this process. This webinar is largely for students who received their I-20s or are in the process of receiving their I-20s, right? And so they can take the next steps to moving on to obtain their visa and study in the United States. Most of you will be applying, I think, for F1 visas, student visas, right? So just a couple details about how to prepare for that, right? The formalities: pay your SEVIS fee. Make sure you print and keep a copy of that SEVIS fee receipt. Do it as soon as possible once you receive your I-20. In fact, everything you should just try to do as quickly as possible, right? I hate to say it, but with international students, the earlier the better. You don't have as much opportunity as our domestic students do to just kind of wait till the last minute and try to spring it on us. So on the one hand, our domestic students, often are last minute and struggle because of that. The international students tend to be very prepared because they have to be. So once you pay your CVIS fee, you can schedule your visa interview. You have to prepare some documents to take with you, right? So pay close attention to this because you need these documents, things like your passport, your CVIS fee receipts, your I-20 or DS-2019, financial documents, your proof of finances, your sponsorship letters, copy of your admission letters, a lot of things that you bring with you. Now, when you do actually go to your visa interview, and Andrew, Jes, feel free to chime in when you have advice for these things, right? There's a whole lot of things that go into it. So there's all this advice you can get, and we're going to provide you with a lot of it. I think one of the first things to kind of keep in mind if you've never done it before is that it's going to be quick. They're generally over within minutes, right? The visa officer may ask you only a few questions. So I've had students tell me, here are the exact questions the officer asked me. And there were maybe 5, 6 questions, and they seem very general. And sometimes you get a visa and sometimes you don't, and you don't understand why. So a big thing here is going to be persistence. Now, as far as specific advice goes, the first and foremost is to establish ties to your home country. Applying for an F1 visa, it's a non-immigrant visa. The purpose of it is to study in the United States and then return to your home country. So you want to be sure that in your answers to the questions that are posed to you, you're establishing those ties to your home country, and you're not giving the visa officer any idea or suspicion that you may be trying to immigrate or that will be your ultimate goal, right? And you have to be very careful about that too, because sometimes I think even just mentioning relatives in the United States or ties in the United States can tip off an officer at the consulate, and they may deny your visa. The number one denial reason for visas is that they think the student's trying to immigrate. So that's the number one reason students are denied their visas. The interview will be conducted in English, and you have to speak for yourself. And this seems like very general advice, but I think authenticity is important. It's important wherever you go in life, right? But especially at the visa interview, because those consular officers, they're going to be looking at you. They want to hear from you. They don't want to hear from a script. They don't want to hear from something that you've necessarily prepared. They want to hear your off-the-cuff responses and answers. They want to hear your genuine answers. So be sure you speak for yourself. Be sure that you're ready to answer questions. And we even have examples of questions too that we share with students to show this is what the kind of things that they ask about. A big thing now that they ask about is sponsorship. How are you paying for studies? Who's going to be your sponsor? They're getting into the weeds and all those kinds of questions to kind of help filter out people that they don't think are actually cut out for traveling abroad because they might not have enough money. So I know we've heard from a lot of students that they'll ask about their sponsors' occupations. They'll ask, is this what your sponsor does? So you have to be careful for things like that. Know your program. So be very familiar with your program and your career goals, just in case you get asked questions. How is this going to benefit you to study in the United States? Why are you going to study in the United States? Why are you studying at Valparaiso University? If you don't have ready answers for these questions, then it will not reflect positively on you in the visa interview. So that's why we provide you with a lot of information up front. You can always look at our website, look at the majors that you were admitted to, look at the graduate programs you were admitted to, familiarize yourself with the curriculum, familiarize yourself with those careers, the goals that you want to achieve by studying at Valparaiso University. And then, as we've already mentioned here, we're kind of giving you a lot of information and preparation, right? Talking about why Valparaiso University, because of these things we offer, right? The cultural experiences, the location, the professional preparation. Be brief, be positive, and talk about why Valpo.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good to know the things that we're talking about, where Valpo is, and you know, I've heard that different students, maybe not specifically to Valpo, but to other universities, maybe they are asked, where do they want to go, and they give some location that's not really where the actual college is. So that's why we really try to, help you to understand, where you'll be studying, and then why, why do you really want to come to Valpo? And the program that you'll be studying, why is that important to you? How is that going to help you in your path in the future?
Yeah. And there may be different requirements across countries, so pay close attention to that. You'll be looking at the embassy websites, right? Necessarily for your nearest embassy, trying to find the nearest place where you can get your visa interview in. Employment, that's another one of those things that comes up in the context of sponsorships, might be in the context of whether you yourself are employed. Any dependents remaining in your home country. Again, good to emphasize those ties. If you're going to come back to your country to go work at your uncle's company or something along those lines, that might be something you want to bring up if you're asked. And
one student here said that his brother is working in the U.S. and he mentioned it on the DS-160. And so I'm not 100% sure. Does the DS-160 ask, do you have any relatives in the U.S.? Is that true?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously you want to be 100% honest in everything. So that's 100% fine to say that your brother is working in the US. You would never want to say, oh, I don't have anybody working in the US when, you do have that. If that's what the question asks, you just be 100% honest. And I don't think that should, that shouldn't be an issue for you. So yeah, be 100% honest on any question. But if you have a chance, if you ever have any chance, just really emphasize that, you plan to come to the US, do your degree, and then you plan to use that in some way back home. Now, of course, for all of us, things change over the course of years. We're not saying that over the course of 2 or 4 years, you may have another direction in your life, but right now this must be your direction, that you plan to come to the US. And then it is possible that it is totally acceptable that you spend maybe 1 to 3 years getting some experience on OPT after you graduate. OPT is a work authorization that you can have tied to your degree for F1 students for 1 to 3 years after you graduate. It's supposed to give you experience in what you studied. So that's 100% acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you mention something about, oh, and I want to, get some experience in my field, after I graduate, that's fine. You just have to have that end goal of returning to your home country. It's a non-immigrant visa.
Yeah. And, that was a really good question there. Now, of course, if you have people in the United States and you're asked, you should answer honestly about it. You have to provide that information. But I think that's just one area where you have to be careful about the nuance of your response. You don't want to suggest necessarily that, my brother in the United States has an H-1B visa or whatever, and I want to go ultimately and get that, right? You want to just be careful to acknowledge, you might have family in the United States, you might have somebody working in the United States, but your path on the F1 is set up to be this way. And, one big piece of advice that I give to international students is because, you don't always succeed on your first try to obtain your visa. So the biggest obstacle to you obtaining your visa oftentimes is just your own willingness and fortitude to obtain it. Because if you're rejected once, it doesn't mean you'll be rejected a second time. It doesn't mean you'll be rejected the third time. And we've had students go back and go back and go back. And the ones that have really stuck with it, they do eventually succeed. I do believe that very strongly. And it can be discouraging. It can be difficult. I've had students who have gone several times, and the visa officer even asks, okay, I see you've been rejected several times. Why do you think you should get it this time, right? But what I encourage every international student here to think about is, if you really want to make this your goal in life to study abroad, and I think it's a really noble goal. I think it's a very big experience for you, and it's life-changing. Travel to another country to study, especially in the United States, where there are many opportunities, where there are many cutting-edge things happening, a lot of commerce, and a very big experience you can have, not just work experience, educational experience as well. It's a very big deal. So I do encourage you, keep at it, keep trying. If you don't get it the first time, just let us know. We're usually pretty, comfortable with deferring admission to later terms. At the graduate level, I've had students defer their semester, 4 or 5 times, and then on that last time, show up. And so very always pleased and excited when that happens and they do make it here. So keep at it is what I say.
That question that, let's see here, Mercy asked, I think that's an excellent question about the oh wait, sorry, it wasn't Mercy, it was before that. It was Asik. Yeah, so I don't know, Jess, did you have anything about that, or question about reputation? Or that's a very, very good question.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's really important for students to do research, ask us questions, really make the decision for yourself on what is drawing you to Valpo, beyond the reputation, because there's over 3,000 institutions in the United States alone. So what distinguishes us for you as an individual student, beyond just rankings and reputation? Is it the connections that you've already made with the staff here? We've communicated a lot over time. Is it something that you found on the website that really kind of drew you into our community, the opportunity to live on campus, to be in the Midwest, to be close to Chicago, but still in a really safe location? Finding what makes you very interested in Valpo and using that as information to your visa officer is going to continue to help you hopefully with that success rate.
That point about how all universities do that, as Jess said, there's 3,000 institutions. That's true. Every single school will say, oh, we have a wonderful reputation, and many of them do. I mean, we're not denying that many schools, including Valpo, have an excellent reputation. So that's very true. But why do you want to go here? Like when I came to Valpo, I actually came as a graduate student as well. And I was a US citizen, so I didn't have to get the visa, but I was kind of like you all in a sense, because I was actually living in China at the time. I was teaching English in China, and I was researching Valpo. And so if a visa officer asked me, why would I come to Valpo? Why is it better than everything else? I mean, I would say I actually had some connection with some Valpo alumni who I reached out to by email. And, again, Valpo is very similar to many other schools in certain ways, but for myself, I had some email with these alumni, and they sent very long, detailed explanations of why Valpo was a very valuable place to go. I asked them many questions, and I really felt that it could help me with my career. I loved international things, and the degree I was studying was international commerce and policy. And that really made me come to Valpo, because I had this connection with the alumni and the professors, and I felt it could help me along in my career in a valuable way. And it did. So, that's the kind of question, that's the kind of answer I would have given if I was in your shoes. So for you, what makes Valpo unique and special, and very valuable for your path.
We have some really great questions in the chat here, and we're going to get to some of these very soon. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to go through this presentation. Hopefully some of us will actually answer some of these questions along the way. But I am prepared to go over a little bit for myself if we have to. So just everybody's asking questions. Don't worry, I'll try to get to everybody's questions here today. On that why a Valpo question too, just to put some other thoughts on it too, think about, yes, there are a lot of universities in the United States, but we're not a public university, we're a private university. We're not a university on the coast, we're a university in the Midwest, in the heartland of America. We're a Lutheran institution with a dedication to truth. So values that are universal, despite our Lutheran identity, right? We're dedicated to these universal values. We're not exactly tiny. We're not terribly large either. We're a comfortable size that allows you to have a good swath of educational experience without being overwhelmed by sheer numbers, but a nice setting for you to have one-on-one interactions with your professors, one-on-one relationships with your advisors. So that's a good thing about Valpo. Those are some additional details on it. Check out our website. Research, you're going to have to research this yourself too. We can provide you with some answers. The best answer is going to be the ones you guys find yourselves. So look into it, but there are details there. You can differentiate us from the pack. We do it all the time. As the director of grad enrollment, I spend a lot of time differentiating our programs from others. And I promise you that when you really get into it and look into it, you find a whole wealth of knowledge and details that will help you understand why Valpo. But you have to put effort into it. And you are students, so it is something that you're going to be doing in your studies, researching, learning. This is your chance to start that process as well, right? So let's talk about arrival dates for fall 2022. OIP orientation, Andrew, I hope I have these dates correct. These are the most current that I pulled off the website. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, we'll start on August 16. That's the start of orientation. So that means that you should not plan to arrive on August 16. You should plan to arrive at least at the very, very latest by August 15. But, it would be better if you arrived a week or two before August 16. You can arrive up to 30 days before the program start date on your I-20 or DS 2019. But yeah, August 16th.
And focus, is that right too, Jeff? Probably.
August. I have to mute myself, but yes, that is correct.
And the graduate school orientation starts on the 17th. There'll be another orientation day on the 23rd. That first week is pretty critical for international students. So you have to be at OIP's orientation to check into the university, to tell us that you've arrived formally, and for us to kind of mark you on campus here for the start of your program. So definitely be sure you make that. Definitely be sure you make all the sessions, because every one of them is designed to help you orient to this new environment, this new atmosphere of study, right? It's going to be different. Might be very different from what you're used to. So you want to be sure that you immerse yourself in this experience, that you get used to it. It might be challenging, it might be difficult, it might be overwhelming at times, but I highly encourage you really get in there, immerse yourself, and give yourself over to the studies, right? Focus on the university, focus on the education and the orientation, and all this will help you prepare and succeed. And the more effort you put into this, the better will be your experience, right? But do give yourself plenty of time. You have 30 days before the start of your program date on your I-20 to arrive in the country. And somebody was actually asking a question about housing, upon arrival, and if they're asked what their plans are. And we're going to get into that, I believe, very shortly here. Let's see what other travel details. Oh yeah, more information will be provided via emails. OIP will start our 5 pre-arrival messages pretty soon here, right, Andrew? When you guys participate?
Yeah, definitely. So it's, May 24th today. So probably by the first week or so of June, we'll send out the first pre-arrival email from international@valpo.edu. I think everyone should have gotten like the OIP welcomes you email, but we'll send probably 5 or 6 like pre-arrival emails. They'll cover, really all you need to know about coming, but get a head start by looking at that web link there. It's kind of long, but valpo.edu/international/admitted-students.
And you're going to be arriving in O'Hare International Airport. It's a big, scary airport, even for Americans. So plan it out in advance before you get here. Look at the maps of the airport, kind of get a feel for it, do your research, your students, good, right? So look at the website for O'Hare, and you can ask us any questions about it as well. We've all been to O'Hare, we've had the experience ourselves, but once you arrive at O'Hare, you'll plan to take a bus, train, or Uber a taxi to get to Valparaiso, right? And there's different options there in OIP and our pre-arrivals. We're sharing details, right, too, about these are our recommended strategies, and you guys have arrival dates set to when you recommend students to come to campus, right, Andrew?
Yeah. I mean, the days we sort of recommend would be the 2 days before orientation, although actually, personally, I would almost recommend you come a little earlier than that. But definitely by August 14, 15. Yeah.
So just have a plan, right? Have a backup plan too if you need. And if you need any advice on it too, you can always ask us and we can give you kind of our own recommendations for what we would do. But there's ways.
Ryan, adding in a little bit of extra time as buffer will help you definitely feel a little bit more comfortable with getting here and not so rushed. Classes do start on August 24th. So it is imperative that you are here on campus and connecting with our community and your peers for orientation, and that you are ready to start classes on the 24th.
Yeah, give yourself plenty of time. Whenever we go to the airport, we always make sure that we are giving ourselves extra hours and planning on that, because it's very hard to get in and get out of the airport. So definitely give yourself plenty of time. So we have a new graduate housing option. So undergrad students, I think, already have housing options on campus, but there is an expanded offering this fall for all the graduate students on the call. It's going to be an alumni hall on campus, one of our lovely residential dorms with some recently renovated areas in it. So I want to make sure we cover this option for anybody who's interested. But we've had some people asking, well, where can I stay? What can I do? And the good thing about this option is that you can lock it in at any time. We have a lot of availability for it, and we'll be sharing forms shortly with admitted students to give them the opportunity to request rooms in alumni. And so you can lock it in right now. Even before you have a visa, you can start the process of reserving space there just to plan it, right? So what are some of the good things about Alumni Hall? Well, first of all, let's talk about options. There's transitional option, and that's going to be a 1 to 2 week duration max. So for any students who are unsure, where am I going to stay until I have permanent housing, or maybe you have an idea for where to stay, but you need some place to stay briefly before you can get to that point, right? There is this transitional option. It's very short term, just for 1 to 2 weeks, right? But it gives you a place to stay as soon as you arrive. You can get inside the halls, you can have a place to sleep, it's going to be safe, you're going to have access to campus and all kinds of nice amenities that go along with it. But it's a good option there for anybody who's going to stay for a very short term. And then we have options for either single rooms, which is 1 occupant in the room, or a double room, which would be 2 occupants. So you have a roommate. And these have varying terms. So if you're interested in just staying a semester and trying it out, or if you're having a hard time finding a housing arrangement and you need a little bit of time to work on that, a semester is a good duration to just kind of reserve. And so that's 4.5 months. It'll last you through December. But if you're interested in a longer stay, and you can even save a little bit of money with longer stays, there is an option for the academic year, which would be 9 months, or for the entire year, 12 months. So if you're planning on staying in Valpo for the entire time, even through summer, the annual option is probably a really good option for you. And I know there are a lot of students, especially for our information technology program, who are trying to take advantage of the summer semester and complete their programs earlier. So annual is probably a good option for some of you who are interested in having a place to stay that's going to be affordable, accessible, and have a lot of nice amenities to offer you. Speaking of which, I put this at the top, affordable and available, because right now in the United States, there's a bit of a housing crunch. So prices have gone up on housing. It's a little bit more expensive if you're trying to find an apartment or a rental house for a graduate student, and they're not terribly available. A lot of places now are asking for social security numbers. So they're trying to filter out applications to their housing. They're trying to be more selective. And some living arrangements that involve multiple people are being cracked down upon. So there's a little frowning upon for people living, many people in a single apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment, or even a house that has 3 bedrooms. We know some of our international students really like to share costs and group together, but it's not as much of an option anymore. Let's say that. So we highly recommend you take advantage of this. And when you request information for it, we can share with you the rates. I won't go into it too much, but I can tell you this, that you will almost certainly save money by living on campus as a graduate student versus living off campus. Why? Because you have such amenities as free laundry. You have all utilities included in the cost, which is not sometimes something you see up front when you're staying in an apartment. But here you'd have electricity, here you would have heat, you would have garbage, trash disposal, you'd have internet access. You have a whole lot of things that you depend on. So you'll have access to that all built into the same cost. You'll have access to campus. So you're right there a walk away from your classes. And that's a lot better than some of our students who commute, even from as far as Chicago. They'll stay with family, friends over across the border, and it's very difficult to do. So we don't generally recommend that. That's one of the reasons why we're offering this option, because we've had those students, they love studying at Valpo, they want to be at Valpo, they're staying with people they know, and that's the arrangements they've settled upon, but it causes academic difficulties for them, makes them late to class. When we do have weather, referring back to that 4 seasons, you do not want to be driving an hour into Valpo, right? You want to be able to give yourself plenty of time to get here safely. Of course, it's even easier if you live on campus and you just walk to class. There's no way that it's going to get in your path or cause you any issues, right? Unless we decide to give you all freebie and just cancel classes because of snow, which happens very rarely. But I know we love those snow days when they do come. But Alumni Hall is a lovely space, lovely lounge area with TV, piano, games. We've recently toured the building ourselves, and we can say it is a really nice offering for international students. And stay tuned. You'll be seeing forms going out to your student profiles or your student application status pages in Slate to allow you to request information for that. So on to questions.
I do want to mention, for undergraduate students, 85% of our undergraduate students do reside on campus. So we do strongly encourage students who do meet our housing requirements to be a part of our community and reside on campus with us. And in that mission, we have awarded students who do meet our requirements for undergraduate, this is undergraduate bachelor seeking, a housing grant that was awarded upon admission. So if you do not meet our requirements to live off campus, you can reside off campus after following up with me, because there is a housing exemption form. So the opportunities that Ryan just talked through are for graduate only.
So different opportunities, but still just refer back to your admissions counselor or your admissions specialist for more information, help guide you through the process. But either way, there are going to be opportunities for you, options for you to work through. So I know we've got some questions in these comments. I want to get to some of these here. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. I think Mercy, you had a question here I wanted to get to. If you were asked where you will be staying on arrival, how do you answer the question? And Mercy, you're a graduate student, right, too, right, for health administration, I believe? Okay, good. Lovely. So on the arrival question, I would say, number one, you do have that housing option on campus if you want to take advantage of that. And you can even note, that's a temporary solution that I might take advantage of to stay until I find more permanent accommodations. So that's one option for you to say. Some of our international students, when they get here on arrival, might stay in hotels. So we do have rates at nearby hotel that can give you a little bit of a discount until you find more permanent housing. And we will be sharing more information on how to find housing. So if you are looking for an apartment, if you're looking for another living space or roommate arrangement, there's a couple different paths you can take. We try to encourage you to connect with fellow students through Facebook and through other avenues. And there are also aggregator sites that you can look at to see all the housing opportunities in Valparaiso. If you're already admitted, you have your I-20, you're starting on your next steps in the process, I would suggest start conversations now and start planning now, because housing can fill up rather quickly. But you always have that backup option if you do need to live in the on-campus housing. It is a pretty nice option. So I would say keep that in mind just as a last resort if you need to. And it's, like I said, it's going to be very affordable. It'll be the cost of renting a single bedroom apartment in Valparaiso, actually cheaper, I would say, if you commit to a term of a semester or even longer. So, and then your arrival date is September. Is that your visa date, September? Your interview date? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so if your interview date is in September, that's really late. I don't know if you'll be able to make it. What you might need to do is defer your admission, which would not be a big problem for us. We're happy to defer it. And the health administration program does start in the spring as well. So there is an intake in January. You can defer to January, which is just a few months after August, and give yourself time to get the visa interview in, get all the steps in to prepare. With such a late date, I don't really recommend late arrival because you'll just be behind on studies and it could jeopardize your academic success. So unfortunately, no problem. You're very welcome. And unfortunately, that does happen. You get interview dates and they're going to be after the start of classes. Just let us know, work with us. We're happy to defer admission to the next available intake. And we highly recommend it because the students who tend to start late, and we've had these cases in the past, they arrive the week of classes, they arrive the week after classes. We try to make as many accommodations as possible for those students, but just without doubt, they all tend to have a lot of challenges catching up with their studies, settling in, even getting over the kind of culture shock of being in a different country. So there's a lot of difficulties and challenges with that associated. So I say, put it off a little bit later, plan a little bit later, and give yourself plenty of time.
Okay.
So,
one student asked a good ways back here, what is the course duration, especially the IT program? So on your I-20, and this is a question that has come up several times over the past few weeks from other students to me as well. But on your I-20, if you were a graduate student, if you were an IT graduate student, it has about 3 semesters length listed on there. So it would be a fall semester, the spring 2023 semester, and the fall 2023 semester. So that is usually how long it takes. Some students say, well, why isn't it 2 years? And, that is usually how long it takes, about 3 full semesters, maybe some summer classes in there too. But if for some reason at the end of that that 3-semester length, you need some more time. You've been making normal progress, but you need another semester. You can request an extension for one more semester. So, and of course for undergrad, the same thing. I think you have 4 years listed on your I-20 for your program, a little more time.
Graduate programs go real quick. You're here and then you're out. So I hate to say it, but the students just disappear as fast as they arrive. So I wish I had more time to spend with them, honestly. But still, like when they come back. Here's a good question. What would be the last day to arrive if you have any issues? So we get this question a lot, especially as it gets closer to the start of classes. You know, we will work with you on an individual basis. So you need to let us know what seems like the most likely date for you. And, you know, we'll try to accommodate you as much as possible. When you start getting to the start of classes, really the optimal answer is, you know, we would like you to be there at orientation, right? If you can make it by the first day of orientation, that's the best. If you can't, things come up, emergencies happen, but you still want to try to get here. The first day of class is the second day. And that's a really challenging one to make. Absolute last minute, last day of drop add for graduate students, which is the last day by which people can add or drop courses. Some people arrive during that first week of classes and they're settling in and they're about to, I'm going to make it to campus on this day. Is that going to be okay? We can still work with it in some scenarios, but this is why we emphasize prepare. Give yourself as much time as possible to arrive. Try to get everything done as quickly as possible to get your visa interview in place. Sometimes those interview slots, they fill up quick and then you don't get them for months and months, right? So the earlier the better. But we will try to work with you and accommodate you as much as possible. So just keep us in the loop, as we say. Send us emails, let us know when your interview dates are. Ask us, is this going to work? Should I defer my term? Mercy's already on top of it as far as thinking about that, right? So you got to be like that. You got to think about that in advance and let us know, and then we can advise you better about it. Try not to spring it on us. If it's suddenly the start of classes and you're saying, by the way, I just booked a flight. You know, don't try not to do that because it's going to make it even more challenging. I hate to tell students, you know, well, this is really not the best course of action. You need to change your plans. But occasionally I do have to tell them that. So just keep us informed and we'll try to stay up to date with you guys and keep you advised on it. A lot of these questions regarding programs and specific information we're not going to be able to get to because the scope of this webinar and the time allotment today. What I will tell you about that though is we've already done a couple webinars on analytics and modeling and our MBA program. I'm going to be uploading those as well to YouTube, and be on the lookout in your emails because I probably will be conducting a couple more in the short term here. So I'll be sharing those out with you guys, inviting you to them. And so you will have some opportunity there still to learn more about those programs. If we can't get to you because we do have so many international students interested in this fall, just check out our website. There's a lot of information on the website. There will be some information shared with you via email about your program. And so, you know, do some research there, look at the curriculum, look at the outcomes, look at the details about the program that are already posted, what kind of careers you can get, what the faculty are working on, and try to shoot me an email if you have any questions on that. Just let me know that you're an admitted student going for your visa interview and you need some information about the program. I'm still getting a ton of inquiries from applicants and other people who are at the initial stages of the process. I will prioritize anybody who's been admitted and who has their I-20 and needs this information to prepare. So shoot me an email, put that in the subject line. Going for my visa interview. It's a good way to just cheat your way to the top of my inbox. What other questions do we have here? Any facilities available for traveling to Valpo from the airport? I want to say you can get here solely through bus.
It's not.
But you might have to go through a couple switches, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. We're going to send out some information about that later in those pre-arrival emails that will start in June, but you can get a head start on that. Let me put the link in the chat here. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat to the admitted students page on the OIP website. So on this page, you'll see 5 links. Pre-arrival detail or for visa, then prepare health details, find housing, travel to Valpo, and attend new student orientation. So yeah, look all through those 5 links, and then the emails that will start in June will cover the details of them.
I'm also going to drop a link for what we use on the undergraduate side, just to share with you some other public transportation ways to get to campus. And it is in miles. Our uploaded one doesn't have kilometers. So you may have to do that conversion. But this is just a good graphic for you guys to kind of see how you can get to campus, but also get around the region here in Northwest Indiana, as well as to and from Chicago as a current student. So kind of puts it in.
Let's see what we have here. Should I register even before my visa appointment for undergrad housing? Jess, what would you say?
So with our undergraduate students, we do guarantee housing for our undergraduate students, and you can complete any documents that you are able to ahead of time. I have a pretty good flexibility with if you are denied a visa or if you have to defer your admission, we can always make sure that you're accommodated for the spring or next fall as well. So it is just another way for you to be able to check off your to-do list in a way while you're waiting for your visa interview. So once you do get that visa, you're able to plan your travel to join us. And it's just less things that you have to worry about. So if you'd like to do it ahead of time, you're more than welcome to do that, but always stay in communication with me.
Are we allowed to take 12 credits in the first semester, or is it only limited to 9 credits? I would refer to the details of your admission. At the graduate level, some students are limited to 9 credits in their first semester. Other students can take 12. So it just depends. If you did not note a limitation on your admission letter and the courses are available, I don't think there's anything preventing you from taking 12.
And for undergraduate students, you are full-time, so you will be taking at least 12. It's 12 to 18 credit hours per semester for undergraduate full-time students.
Yep.
9 credits is full-time for grad and 12 for undergrad. And that's tied to your immigration. We won't go into all the immigration rules right now, but that is tied to your immigration status, that you must take at least 9 for grad and at least 12 for undergrad. One thing I saw earlier on there, I know that Ryan said that he would send out more information about the programs, and I'm not an expert on all the different programs, but one question somebody said, asked was about the capstone project that the IT students take. And again, I'm not an expert on that because I'm not an IT person, but I will say I joined the final presentation that the IT students did. It was back probably at the end of April. They invited me to join their final presentation on Zoom, and it was really neat. It was about it was a project they did for a restaurant in Chicago, developing an app and all kinds of background systems for that restaurant for ordering and all kinds of things. Again, I'm not an IT person, so I don't understand all the details, but it was really neat how they did a real live project for a restaurant that needed some help. It was a project that really helped this restaurant increase their business and everything. And the IT students, took a lot of leadership in that and did a lot of really neat things for that project. So I know there was one IT student who did the capstone project back a couple of years ago, and I know he was very involved with that. And then later he got a job at Tesla, Tesla company in California. So he's working at Tesla now. So I've talked to many IT students who did the capstone project, and they said that gave them great experience for working at real world, jobs after they graduated. So tidbit.
There's a question here about somebody who did their bachelor's in pharmacy and they're applying for MHA. Will that make any problem for visa approval? Not generally. So health administration is a kind of generalized healthcare administrative program. So we do have many students in that program who studied for their pharmacy doctorates, for their PharmDs. We have students from other backgrounds who go into that. And it gives you a lot of great skills that are applicable, surprisingly, not just in the health industry, but in other similar related industries. So some of our MHA grads actually go on to work in human resources. They go on to do other kind of administrative work. And it's a great program because you get skills that you can apply to a whole lot of different fields. And so you have many opportunities after you graduate. You're not locked into any one type of profession that you're trying to get. So there's a lot of great outcomes in that program, actually. But I don't see that being a problem for visa approval. But you do have to pay attention to that advice we gave you earlier about, establishing your ties, knowing Valpo, why the program. Let's see here.
One student asked about housing on campus during summer breaks. And yes, there is on-campus housing that is available during the summer breaks. You have to sign up for it and register for it. I'm not 100% sure myself about the cost of that, but there is housing available if you sign up for it during the breaks.
For health administration, generally there is an internship required. It is a part of most of our graduate programs. And I think usually when people opt for research projects, they do that as opposition to doing an internship. So you have that option. You're generally expected to do an internship, but some students do choose to do a research project instead, and I think they can make that substitution. It can vary by program, but I do know, generally speaking, that our programs try to get students into internships. We like students to have practical experience, get plugged into actual work experience here, because that tends to be very useful for them. There is no GRE. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
And even a quick word for the undergrad students. Right now, I'm helping a lot of undergrad students with their internship authorization for the summer. It's really neat. I've seen a lot of internships this summer for our undergrad students. So, the programs are very good. The computer science, there is a computer science student I was just working with, got a really good internship in Indiana. So there's a lot of opportunities there. One note about internships, a student must be at Valpo at least for one academic year before any internship is possible. So just keep that in mind.
Somebody applied with the Duolingo score. If you've received your I-20, you have met our requirements. So if you submitted a Duolingo, then it must have met our requirements. You don't need to take any additional tests before appearing for your visa interview. Somebody asked that analytics and modeling students are having some rejections. We have a lot of international students applying for that program. I don't think it's quite as well established among our international population. So that's why we've been trying to familiarize students better with that program. We had a webinar not long ago. We might do another. And so I think that's just a case where because of the sudden rise in interest in that program, those students need time to really figure it out and be able to express themselves in the visa interview. So I highly refer you to check out the website for AMOD, email us questions. And once that webinar that we've already done is uploaded to YouTube, hopefully in the next week or two, you can refer back to that to learn more information about the program. And there could just be misunderstandings too. It is a data science program. It's a little generalized. So a lot of the students have more opportunities as they go out, not just to be stuck in data science, but they can go into lots of different analytical roles because they'll have the tools to do that. And very good outcomes for that program too, actually. As far as scholarships go for graduate students, you were assessed at the time of admission. if we were able to give you one, you would have seen it noted on your admission letter. So there's no separate application process. We try to consider everyone for a scholarship. We have very limited capability to give those out because we keep our tuition really low. Most universities with graduate schools, if they have high tuition costs, you'll notice they also offer more scholarships. It's really just kind of a little bit of what we call a bait and switch. They say, oh, you received this large scholarship, but then their tuition is also highly inflated. It's very large. So you might get pulled in by seeing this large scholarship number for a graduate program elsewhere, but really they're just discounting your tuition a little bit, little inside facts about the process there. So at Valpo, though, we keep things really reasonable for our students, very affordable. So we still even then consider students for scholarships at the graduate level, but they're pretty limited. Typically, they don't amount to more than 10 to 20% of a student's tuition. And even then, to our availability to give them out, I'd say 10% or less of our graduate international students receive scholarships and enroll. So most international students are actually paying their way. So if you didn't receive a scholarship, I'll tell you, it still means that we want you here, because just being admitted is us finding you to be someone that we want in our program, somebody who can succeed. We just can't always give out scholarships to everybody, unfortunately. And if you haven't received your I-20 yet, I would suggest just get in touch with us. We're going to try to be doing some work following up with people whose I-20s are on hold for different reasons. So pay close attention to your emails. We should be reaching out to you. You'll be hearing from us. And there might be some documents outstanding. If there aren't, then we're probably going to get to it really soon here. And let's see.
Question about the extracurricular activities. So we really believe that your time at Valpo is more than just your study. Your study is the key part, but it's really important to have a broad experience. So let's see, a few things. We probably take about 2 or 3 trips during the semester, not long trips, but like in the spring, we went to a ski resort in Michigan, not too far away, about 2 hours. That was a really fun ski trip we did in, I think it was in February. And then let's see, we in the fall, we took a trip up to the dunes, the Indiana dunes. We went hiking all around there and went out to the beach. In the summer, we're hoping to take a trip to a local tourist place not too far away from here that has some very local, very interesting like farming community. And let's see, the visa organization, not your immigration visa, but we call our international student organization VISA, Valparaiso International Student Association. So that is a really cool organization that does lots of events throughout the year, a lot of small events, just celebrating different cultures, but they do 2 big events that we really, really love. So the first one is in the fall. And so I hope you all are here for that. It's called the Food Bazaar. And that's when many international students can have the opportunity to cook food from their home country. And I get to taste it. So I love it. And that's a really neat event. And then in the spring, we do a big banquet and performance. We call it the World Banquet. So.
Now, as far as connecting with other students or with professors, feel free to reach out to us via email. You can find most of our faculty on the website, and some of you will be receiving emails with your advisor contacts or your professor contacts. So it's very easy to correspond with them via email. We can even set up meetings sometimes, virtual meetings. It was a little harder, especially since during the summer, a lot of our faculty are not on campus. But we'll try to get you connected as much as possible. And for your fellow students, we still highly recommend Facebook. We've got a couple of Facebook groups that we'll be plugging you into, connecting you with. We highly encourage you to get into those Facebook groups for international students. And Slack, Telegram, we're looking at other platforms to get on, but a little hard to manage all these. Everybody's got a different platform they like. So for now, I say Facebook is usually the safest one to be a part of and to meet as many other students as possible. Just present the 9-month for interview. If you're asked about the tuition fee and estimated leaving expense, should you just present the 9-month breakdown on your I-20? We can provide you with more detailed tuition and fee breakdowns if you'd like. I have a form letter actually that I share out with some students who ask about, total cost of the program and fees associated. So I can provide you with that too. If you ask, just shoot me an email. I want to say, if you register quickly enough, if you follow through the process, you might get a bill, actually a mock bill, but that might actually be after you get your visa. So I wish we had a few more options for our international students for grad to really get a good detailed breakdown of tuition and fees. But I'm happy to provide you with a form letter too, if you'd like. That'll get a little bit into it. If you have any problem in traveling, to whom should we contact? Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, so we'll send an email about travel, one of those pre-arrival emails, probably be in later June. I have to look at the schedule exactly, but we'll have some information there about who you should contact and how you can get in touch with us. So yeah, just keep an eye on that in late June, I think, early July.
Yeah. And I'll double check. You can see the faculty pages on each college generally, and you can delve in there to get the names of some professors for your programs. So I know, unfortunately, we're seeing some faculty retiring soon, so that's going to change the structure a little bit. But there are other faculty listed there, so try to make sure that's updated as well. Let's see.
There was a question about a club. I think the communication club. I'm not 100% sure about a communication club, but what I think is important to know is that Valpo is not a huge school like, let's say, Indiana University or Ohio State or Purdue University. Those are great schools, but you may not have the same opportunity to get involved as much at a really huge school. But at Valpo, one thing that it's known is that Valpo students have the opportunity to get involved in all kinds of clubs and all kinds of groups because it's a relatively small school. So I'm sure there would be a communications club, and if not, you can start one.
Always welcome the initiative if anybody wants to start clubs around here. One thing we mentioned earlier was VISA, the International Student Association. And that student association is actually pretty big. I mean, they have had the ear of the president too before. So, you have this opportunity to partake in things, participate. At the graduate level too, we have the Graduate Student Advisory Council. So we do have international students who sit on that advisory council, and they get to participate in the governance of the university, right? So we talk to them, we hear from them, their issues and concerns, and they can express to us, things that they want to see or things they want to do or, events to put on. So there are a couple different ways for you to be plugged in here at the undergrad or grad level into the university itself, actually. So good opportunities for students there. So we're getting close here. We've been over for a little bit of time. I know there's still a lot of questions out there, but I think I'm going to have to wrap it up. Unfortunately, do have things I got to move on to do myself too. It was really nice seeing everybody here. So glad to see all these people here. All the different countries you're from, Ghana, Nigeria, India, Nepal, anywhere else that I've missed. We're really looking forward to you all showing up in the fall. Hopefully, if you can't make it in the fall, hopefully the spring or the next available intake. Just keep in touch with us via email and keep on the lookout. We'll be sending you information through email as well. I know that's the primary channel we communicate with most of our international students through, right? But just keep in touch, and we hope you've had good time here in this webinar. Hope you've had some questions answered. We've got some good information. hope you're a little more educated about that question of why Valpo, right? And so if you have any follow-up questions, reach out to us. We will be sharing this webinar again. So once it's produced, once we have it uploaded to YouTube, I'll send out an email to everybody who is invited to the webinar so you can take a look at it and refer to the information. Just parting thoughts from me, I would say, first of all, I'm so excited about all of you. It's really nothing more pleasant to me than seeing international students take the steps to make these leaps and study abroad. It's always exciting to me when an American student wants to study in our programs too. But for them, it's sometimes just like, oh, well, you know, I live in Valparaiso already. I saw you guys just here. I just walked across the street. It's not as much of a journey as international students take. Students who have to fly over oceans to get here, to get to the United States, to see what we have to offer. That particularly is what excites me a lot more than other students do. Jess and Andrew, if you have any other thoughts you want to part with here.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, the journey that we can help you through, help you with, you know, it's really, really neat to see from this stage where you guys are, you know, just planning to come, to current students, and then after they graduate, and it's every part is so neat. So it's really special to see you starting out, and we really hope to see you all in August and help you along your journey.
I also am so excited for you guys. It is quite the journey, but in reality, it's only a couple months away by the time you hopefully join us. It's been a sincere pleasure kind of helping you find Valpo and learn about us and see how we can help you on your educational journey. And so I'm so excited that to be a part of this, to be alongside of you. And hopefully we will be able to see you at orientation in August. So August 16th, it will be here before we know it.
Yes, it will. Time just passes faster and faster, especially the older you get. I can personally testify. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day.